Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful idea. What if I told you the secret to hitting your biggest goals wasn't about some massive heroic effort? What if it was actually about changes so small you'd barely even notice them? Well, we're going to unpack the science that shows how these tiny improvements are the real engine behind remarkable results.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a frustration I bet we all know way too well. You set a big, exciting goal, you're going to run a marathon, learn an instrument, totally transform your diet, and for a week or two, you're on fire. But then, life happens, and before you know it, you're right back where you started. Sound familiar? Why is that cycle so common?
Well, a lot of the time, the problem isn't the goal itself, it's the insane pressure we put on ourselves. We have this idea that for a change to even count, it has to be this huge, dramatic transformation, right? It's like we're standing at the bottom of a giant mountain. But that all-or-nothing thinking, it's just a recipe for burnout. The good news is, there's a much more powerful and, frankly, a much easier way.
And that brings us to the core concept here, the power of just 1%. Some people call it the aggregation of marginal gains, which sounds complicated, but the idea itself is simple. And once you really get it, it completely changes how you look at progress.
1%. I mean, it sounds like nothing, doesn't it? It's the kind of change you wouldn't even notice on any given day. But what if that tiny little 1% improvement isn't just a small step? What if it's everything? It's the tiny seed that incredible things grow from.
And check this out. This chart just perfectly illustrates the whole concept. It shows the incredible power of compounding. See that top line? That's what happens when you get just 1% better each day. And the bottom line? That's getting 1% worse. In the beginning, you can barely see a difference, but just look what happens over time. Those tiny, consistent choices, they explode into massive results.
The math here is it's mind-blowing. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you end up 37 times better by the end of it. On the flip side, if you get 1% worse each day, you slide almost all the way down to zero. That gap between a tiny improvement and a tiny step backward becomes absolutely enormous. So, the big question is, how do we actually do this? How do we engineer these 1% changes in our own lives? Well, it's not about luck, and it's not about just gritting your teeth and using willpower. Nope. There's a science to it. A really simple, repeatable framework for building and breaking pretty much any habit. Get this. Every single habit you have, the good, the bad, all of them, runs on this same 4-step feedback loop in your brain. It starts with a cue, which triggers a craving, that motivates a response, and finally, you get a reward. That little loop is the engine that lets our habits run on autopilot.
Now this is where things get really practical and honestly really cool. This is basically the user manual for your brain. You want to build a good habit, you just follow the rules. Make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the action easy, and the reward satisfying. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just do the exact opposite. You flip the switch on every single one of those laws. Okay, so with that framework in our back pocket, let's talk about 2 incredibly simple techniques you can start using literally the second this is over. These are tools designed to make your new habits obvious and easy to start. First up is a tool called habit stacking. The idea here is just brilliant. You leverage the routines that are already hardwired into your brain. So instead of trying to remember to do some new thing out of the blue, you just link it or stack it on top of something you already do without thinking. And the formula couldn't be simpler. It's just, after my current habit, I will do my new habit. That's it. And what makes this so powerful is that it totally removes the guesswork. It creates a super specific, actionable plan. Your brain doesn't have to struggle. It just becomes the next logical step. So, for example, instead of just saying, I want to meditate more, you'd say, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or maybe, after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. You see, you're just attaching the new behavior directly to an old one. And a very similar idea comes from a Stanford researcher named B.J. Fogg. He calls that existing habit an anchor moment. Then you do a tiny behavior, and when he says tiny, he means really tiny, like flossing just 1 tooth. And then comes the most important part. You immediately celebrate. Now this isn't a big party, it's just a small, instant reward, like doing a little fist pump or saying yes. That immediate celebration tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do it again.
Okay, so we've got the 1% concept, and we've got some practical tools. But there's one final crucial piece that really makes all of this stick, and it's a fundamental shift in your mindset, away from being obsessed with goals and toward focusing on systems.
This quote from James Clear just nails it. Goals are good, right? They give you a direction. But it's your systems that actually make progress happen. I mean, think about it. Winners and losers in pretty much any field often have the exact same goals. The thing that separates them is their commitment to a better system of continuous, small improvements.
And this right here, this is the ultimate secret. The most effective systems are the ones built around your identity. See, true, lasting change isn't really about what you do. It's about who you believe you are. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. So the goal isn't just to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. That little shift changes everything.
So as we wrap up, the real question isn't what you just learned. It's about what you're going to do with it. Just for today, let go of the need for some massive, life-altering change. Instead, what is the one tiny, almost laughably small 1% improvement you can make starting right now?